and welcome to Promenade Culture Center. This is Culture Corner. We bring you the authentic stories of creative individuals. Today, our guest is Tim Waddell, founder and business director of Staged in Kuwait. Tim, very warm welcome to Culture Corner.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for finding time to speak to us today.
Yes.
We know your life is busy, especially at this time of the year with all the productions being prepared, getting ready to go on stage. I want us to speak immediately about that big part of your life that theater is. Why is theater important to you? And when did it become so important in your life?
Why? It's difficult to answer that. I
Yeah.
think they say theater is a bug, the acting bug bites you. And I think that's really exactly what happened to me. I remember being 10 years old, my first school play, and just something bit me. Literally, I can trace it back. I was playing the Hornet in the Ugly Bug Ball, and I got to do a fight with a stick with some other kid
It was an
from.
action role.
Yeah, it was. It was. So I had everything in my first role: a few lines, bit of stage fighting, and that was it. I was hooked. Um, and literally, I think since that point forward, so for the best part of 40 years or 40 plus years now, if I'm telling the truth, I've taken every opportunity to find ways to stay involved in theater.
Yeah.
And you do seek it out, I think, when you love it. I arrived in Kuwait, and it was the first thing I did, find the community theater organization. But it's been a part of my life wherever I've been living, and there's the why, other than the addiction to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not particularly about. Some people think it's about the applause and the kudos and the ego, but it's not about that at all. There is something beautiful about that moment of live theater where an audience and a cast come together, and you're creating something truly magical for 2 hours. Suspended disbelief, everyone's sharing in a shared emotion that's being created from the stage and hopefully transmitted into the audience. And I think that's the magic that captured me. I was a kid magician from the age of 6, and so I fell in love with entertaining very early. But I think that magic has always been a sort of keyword in my life. And when we started Staged in Kuwait, it was on the back of our t-shirts, really. That magic is part of theater. It really is what theater's all about.
So you started with that role early on, and this continued through school. Were you seeking these roles? Did they find you? Drama
No,
must have been a subject at some point.
I sought it, I learned it, I studied it, everything. Yeah, it became the subject that was my primary. Music and drama, to be honest. I started playing violin at 7 and piano at 11, I think. So music became part of my life as well through, I think as a child in school, you become an arts student or a sports student or a math student.
And they don't allow you to be both, like arts
Not
and sports.
really,
They
no.
always complain. I see with my kids at school.
I was so jealous of the couple of kids who managed to transcend the boundaries. I didn't really like sport. I went to a rugby school and lost my teeth very quickly in the first couple of years playing rugby, and said, it's really not for me. I spent most of my school years hiding out in the school theater rather than on the sports field. But
that's a good place to hide.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I have such fond memories of just not skipping lessons, but playtimes and break times backstage in the theater, not even doing anything theatrical, just chatting with my mates and hanging out.
Inhaling the air, the stale air of theater, you know? Yeah.
There is something comes back to the same word, magical, about the space of a theater. It doesn't matter where it is. If I walk into a theater, whether it's West End, Broadway, or Village Hall in the middle of nowhere, just seeing a stage and the seats set up and hopefully some curtains up and whatever, it just gives me that tingle, and
Yeah.
I just want to put on a show there.
Yeah,
It's,
I can imagine. It feels equally important, whether you're, like you said, in a village somewhere or at a big scene.
Oh, I think that's exactly what
Mm,
theater is about, the coming together of people.
yeah.
It's not about ego. And I've met a lot of people in my theater life that are a little bit focused on they want to be the star, or
Yeah.
they talk about the divas of theater. And
Mm,
of course, there are those people. There are the people who only are in it for themselves or for
mm,
the applause. And there's brilliant performers who are
yeah.
only in it for themselves as well. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're bad performers. Um, but the real magic of theatre is the coming together of people.
Mm,
And I think that's why community theatre, especially, has always drawn me.
yeah.
Uh, People working for the love of it rather than working for a paycheck
Mm,
is truly quite special. And
yeah.
when you walk into a village hall, and you see the potential of
Mm,
the whole village or 500 people from that village coming together to watch some probably relatively bad
mm.
piece of theatre. But
Yeah.
everyone comes together, and that magic 2 hours
Yeah.
is going to be created, whether the performance is amazing or is mediocre.
Mm,
Um, the I think we've been spoiled in today's age where you go to big productions, and the amount of money that's been
mm,
thrown at them, you're going for the spectacle, and the magic is about the spectacle, not about
mm,
the emotion, the performance, the feeling in the room. And that I find quite disappointing, really.
mm,
I I think that real theatre doesn't need big sets and massive multi-million dollar effects and video
mm.
walls. It just needs great storytelling
Yeah.
and a little bit of suspension of disbelief
Mm,
from both sides. You know.
mm. We speak a lot with our guests about that path from when they discover the passion towards something to potential formal education and then later finding it as a career choice. For a lot of people, this was not their first career choice, or they did not know that this is something they could be passionate about. But crucial elements are sometimes the school and school environment and home or family and support from parents. Um, did you find any resistance in choosing to become what you became?
I always knew I wanted to work in the arts. I think
Mm,
from the age of 6, did. I went out at 12 years old and I started earning my pocket money
mm,
performing magic at kids'
yeah,
parties for other 6 and 7 year olds.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I spent the first 10 years of my working life from 12 to 22 out 3 or 4 times a week
Mm.
entertaining. Um,
So
so
they knew.
I knew,
It
they
was
knew.
evident, yeah.
But when I went off to college, they wanted me to be a scientist or
Mm,
whatever, as everybody's parents do, because
mm.
they're smart and they know that you need money to survive in life, and there ain't much money in art, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Still,
the reality, and
it's the same thing.
that's right. In 1990, it was the case, and it's very much still the case today.
Yeah.
I think what led me through my life to come back to it as my job is just when a passion is real
Mm,
and doesn't go away,
yeah.
you end up saying, how much time do I have for it? And I had a day job. I came to Kuwait originally as a teacher.
Mm,
Um, I I had a day job as a teacher my first few years in Kuwait, and then I'd spend all night at the theater
mm,
rehearsing, then come home making costumes, planning
mm,
sets, whatever, and struggle up the next morning to get to school for 7 a.m.
yeah.
And then I left education and went into business. Um, and the same pattern repeated.
Mm,
I had a business job, so I didn't have the 6 a.m. starts anymore. I had a
yeah.
9 a.m. start, which was better. But I still was out the door the minute work
Mm.
finished. And the corporate world doesn't like that. They
Oh,
want you
yes.
to be available for dinner parties
Yeah,
and
yeah.
client schmoozing and all of that. So that sort of stopped fitting together. Um, and it's very difficult to be an independent contractor in Kuwait and work for
Mm,
yourself. So I sort of managed that for a couple of years
mm,
outside. And it was always to give me time to dedicate to
yeah.
theatre. Originally, Kuwait Little Theatre in Amity. Um, then I think I got to the point. at 40 where I just said, I've got to bite the bullet, really.
Mm.
I spend more time in my life focused on theatre, doing what
Yeah.
I love, but it doesn't pay the bills.
Mm.
How can I swing the balance?
Mm.
How can I adjust that? And really, I think the solution was to accept, if I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to be taking a massive pay cut. And
Yeah.
that was the reality moment. That was
Yeah.
when I think I just said, okay, look, I'll live off what comes in.
Mm.
Can I, if I can pay my rent for the next 6 months, then I can do the 6 months
Yeah.
after that. And that's when passion becomes job.
Mm.
And you then learn that your job and your passion are now very tightly linked,
Yeah.
and your job is still a job,
Mm.
but it's so
With
it
yeah.
challenges your passion.
Yeah.
you, I
But
think that
yeah.
been the hardest thing, I think, the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate not losing the passion
Mm.
when
Yeah.
it's got to pay your bills, pay other people's bills.
Oh yes. When
Uh,
there is this responsibility for others, it specifically comes specifically strong down on you. Um, I think that there's probably not a person that somehow has not either heard of Staged in Kuwait, has been involved with Staged in Kuwait, has volunteered, participated, performed, came to performances, and so on. It's omnipresent, which is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to ask what's the secret. Obviously, the secret is all the things you're mentioning, all the dedication. But then again, why is the bond so strong? Is it because it is so oriented to community? As one of the things.
I love the idea that it is omnipresent.
Mm,
Thank you for that.
yeah,
I don't
it
know.
is.
It's funny because when you're in it, all you hear about are the people going, "We've never heard of you." So I'm constantly hearing the people that we're not reaching.
This is from my 10 years in Kuwait
Yeah.
that I've really, this is probably one of the first places I've heard of and the first performance I brought my child to. So
I
definitely.
think we're quite good, or I've been quite active to ensure that once people do know about us,
Mm,
they stay knowing about us, and we've been consistent. We have a program that has run every year. We offer the same,
mm,
not the same show, but similar programs within the season. So our
yeah.
December show and our
Mm,
March show and our June show. So people have built us into their
mm,
calendars once they do discover us, and kids get involved with our drama program and
mm,
adults come and get involved. So I think we're good at maintaining customers.
mm,
There's still a lot of people, I think, who don't know about
mm,
us, and we always need to expand our reach. But we're a little bit careful with our promotion and our advertising
mm,
because this is Kuwait,
yeah.
and we're not doing anything illegal, and we're not doing anything revolutionary,
Mm,
but just doing English language literature on stage can raise eyebrows in some circles. But I do like to think that we're a part of Kuwait culture and
mm.
people recognize us and know that we're there. I've lost track of your question
No, no,
now. What was
it was a question of
the
the bond, of
the bond?
how
That's right.
the bond
Yes.
is created. Yeah.
The I think community is exactly that.
Mm,
In a world where everything costs money,
mm,
to offer something to people, sure, tickets cost money. We
yeah.
have to pay for shows. But to offer the opportunity for people to come and get involved in something completely for free is rare.
Mm,
And over the years, we've tried little tokens for um, pay to pay to play sort of thing,
mm,
a fixed membership fee that you have to join if you want to be part of our show. But we ended up just saying it's not worth it.
mm,
The money piece of the equation, I think, is part of the joy of community
mm,
involvement. Every single person who gets involved in our shows does so of their own volition. They have they can get involved as little or as much as they like.
mm.
it's very easy for it to become all consuming. We were
Mm.
talking earlier about how easy it is to get
Yeah.
wiped out with your commitment to community
Yeah.
theatre. But community, when people come together for the project rather than for themselves, is what makes it special. And I'm always saying to the teams that if the show is the thing, if
Mm.
that's the big picture, and we all focused on putting on the best possible show for our audience, suddenly all of our egos get left at the door.
Yeah.
That's not to say we don't clash on egos occasionally with
No, of
people.
course.
That's real life. But um, it, by keeping our focus on the show, it does create this amazing sense of community, and then our community sort of grows outwards from the shows because the people involved want to do a drama class and get better at on stage performance, or they have family and the kids come to our
Mm.
drama classes, or they discover skills that they knew nothing about,
Yeah.
sound, lighting, and
Mm-hmm.
they end up doing
Yeah.
jobs in
Yeah.
other groups or in their company that are related. So it's I think community comes from a very selfless place.
Mm.
When an individual says, I'll commit to this,
Mm-hmm.
the commitment is the key, because we see a lot of people come in, don't, can I help? Well,
Yeah.
yes, but we don't need people who need to be directed. Well, off stage,
Yeah. Yeah.
we need people who are proactive,
Yeah.
and it's missing in a lot of places in society, I
Mm.
think, today. Proactivity, people who are self-starters, people who can be given a task and then come back
Mm.
with a solution.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
hard work.
it
I
is.
mean, it
It's
is.
work. It
Yeah. Yeah.
is
It
work,
is work.
but it's so rewarding
Yes.
because
Mm.
someone says, "I need a prop. It's got to be a stuffed goose, and
Mm.
it's got to look real. Go!"
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got to come back the next
Yeah.
week
With
or in
it.
two
Yeah.
weeks' time with something that
Mm.
a room full of people are going to go, "Oh, that's amazing," and it
Mm.
looks like a goose. Now, I've been in shows in the past where the person who comes back with the goose is very proud of it, and
Mm.
you're going, "That's not a goose, that's a duck." And you have to
Yeah.
decide how fussy you want to be as a director
Yeah.
or as a team member.
Mm.
But that's where you learn all sorts of skills. Empathy is a huge part, I think, of a good community leader,
Mm.
because you've got to drive people to perform who aren't being paid, who are donating their time,
Mm.
their effort. You've still got to be able to call them out when they're
Mm.
underperforming. You've still got to challenge them to be better.
Yeah.
And I think my strength as a leader of the group for the last 15 years has been that I always want people to leave a show better than they came
Mm.
into the show, whether it's on stage, off stage. If if I can see growth, and that sounds a little bit pretentious, I guess it is, but
Mm.
uh, I love watching people grow. I love
Mm.
watch people, not that I'm making them grow, but that they're discovering it in
Mm.
themselves. I think that's at the heart of it.
I've been looking at the audience whenever I come to any of your shows, and it's people from all areas of life, and from different nationalities, different occupations, different age, and so on. It's really amazing to see that. That speaks volumes of community involvement or how you're recognized. Because I wanted to ask, would you also define yourself as a community theater? With all what it means or what it means to us who come from, a background where community theaters mean something.
Yeah, I don't think they understand. The local community doesn't really understand what community theatre
Mm.
means, and I think for two reasons. One, theatre is looked down on
Mm-hmm.
as an act, not as an activity. There is theatre, West End, international touring, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's luxury, and yes, we'll spend 100 dinars for a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be an actor
Mm.
in the Middle East
Mm.
is not considered a respectable profession, really.
Mm.
And so there's this weird disconnect. So community theatre, why would I let my son or daughter go out and
Yeah.
join a theatre
Mm.
troupe? They might want to be an actor, heaven forbid. So
That
uh,
will be really bad.
yeah,
Mm.
we one of the pleasures of the last 2 or 3 years is watching more young Kuwaitis
Mm.
and local Arabs getting involved in what we do. Um, not because they're defying their heritage, but
Mm.
because they're realizing the benefits
Yeah.
that we've known about for years.
They've also come actually from a heritage of famous actors and really
There's
great
Of
performers.
course, there's
Yeah.
huge history
Yeah.
of live theatre. I mean, any culture has a theatrical history
Yeah.
because it's the root of entertainment, and people came together to tell stories, and then they came together to act out those
Mm.
stories. So every culture can trace its theatrical roots for sure. Um, yes, it's not going to make you rich, and I
Yeah.
understand why some cultures want to say don't go into
Yeah.
acting. My culture is exactly the same. My
Mm.
parents did the same thing. But the community side of it, yes, we are a community theatre,
Mm.
but as an organization, you can't finance hiring staff and
Yeah.
growing and running a business as a community theatre. So we have two sides as Staged in Kuwait. We have Staged in Kuwait, the business, which is the kids' classes, the
Mm.
adult classes, potential collaborations, all of those sorts of pieces that hopefully generate some money. To pay the bills, because rent is the biggest expense. To run a community theatre, you need storage space for
Mm.
props and costumes and all the pieces. You need ideally workshop space, which we still don't have, but we
Mm.
have a very nice landlord at the moment who allows us to do our paintings and things in the communal spaces.
Mm.
Um, and you need rehearsal space, most importantly, because
Mm.
3 or 4 nights a week you're rehearsing for
And
hours.
these are large spaces that you need, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if
It
you got
cannot be just a room.
a cast of 30 learning a dance routine, you can't do it in your lounge
Mm.
when most of our participants are living in apartments or whatever provided by
Yeah.
their company housing. So um, just renting space to keep the community theatre costs us a lot of money.
Mm.
So we have to have the business wing to help offset that. Um, but so when we say what is Staged in Kuwait, yes, it's a community theatre, but we like to think of ourselves as a performing arts school
Mm-hmm.
and community theatre really now. But we can't use the word school in Kuwait because then it opens
Of
up too
course.
many
Yeah. Yeah.
too many license issues. But
Still, things are learned, skills are obtained.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
we're learning skills, performing arts skills, and that's I'll have
Yes.
to change the S to skills. I like that idea.
Um, I was just thinking, sometimes here in this podcast, I ask these big questions, and then a person on the other side says, okay, I wasn't really thinking of going that big, even if I have a small effect. But I do need to ask because that's, kind of where my educational background is. I'm always interested in this, what we call a positive social change. Community theaters are a definition of a change within a society or part of that change. Do you feel over the years you've spent, not just in stage in Kuwait and even before, that this is something that has um, contributed to, or maybe even tremendously contributed to, how the generations were formed, at least of your performers and youngsters or people, even older adults who went through theater? Do you feel it created a wave of actors, people who continue to be producers, directors, who just, um, manage to grow their interest in arts and culture?
Uh,
Because
it's
that would be a social change.
Yeah, if you think of it that way, I think to come back to the bug of
Mm.
theatre that we started with, um, once you're in, I think you're in just to some degree
Yeah.
until or unless you burn out and get out.
Yeah.
um, so it is not just an 18 to 25 year
Mm.
olds thing. I think it becomes a generational thing. And in a good community theatre, you have members from multiple generations. And one of the joys is that you're learning from different
Mm.
generations in that way. Um, I think when I was 20, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to put on shows that people would leave from going, oh my God, it's made me think about things differently, as we all did.
Yeah.
And I realized probably in my 30s that we are. the best we can achieve is
Mm.
a ripple in the pond. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
can throw a stone into the big wide world, and
Start
we
something.
see
Yeah.
the first
Mm.
circle of ripple, and hopefully that ripple keeps moving. And that's what I'd like to believe Staged in Kuwait is in this community. Um, I I want it to. It's not new. When I started it, it was to keep community theatre going. Community theatre started in 1948 here
Mm.
with Kuwait Little Theatre, and I was lucky enough to get involved in 1996 when I arrived in a very thriving community
Mm.
theatre scene. But then in that in the 10, 15 years from 96 to early 2000s, Kuwait started to change a lot.
Mm.
There was less to do in the 90s in Kuwait. There were
Mm.
barely any malls. I think Al
Mm.
Fanar was one of the first that popped up when I was first here. Um, and you could go to the cinema, you could perhaps go to one mall. So people came together and
Mm.
looked for activities. Community was at the heart of
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened. Excuse me. Um, Community was coming together to find things to do outside of work. And then by the 2000s, there was 10 things to do, 20 things to do in the
Yeah.
evening. Getting people to commit their time to come and rehearse 3 times a week was getting harder and harder.
Mm.
And we started to see the strain on
Mm.
community theatre as an activity. Um, and at the same time, the people who'd kept it running for so long faded away,
Mm.
and community theatre at KLT died a death, really.
Mm.
And I said, I can't let this happen. I need it to continue for me,
Mm.
purely selfishly, I suppose, to start in some way. Um, we were being auto censored, I think was a
Mm.
word you used when
Yes.
we started chatting today. And you know, they say you can't please everyone all the time. Well, absolutely. So
Mm.
you've got to upset somebody somewhere with
Mm.
everything you do. Otherwise, what you're doing isn't worth doing. So I think I started building theater shows and just running my life, assuming somebody was going to be upset with what I was
Mm.
doing. Um, but the community became fractured in 2010, 2011. And that was really when I said, okay, I'll go
Mm.
off on my own
Yeah.
and see if I can keep community theatre going
Yeah.
on
Well, it
my
seems you're doing
auspices.
well.
We're
Yeah.
surviving.
Yes.
That's 15 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Of all the various hats you are wearing and things you are doing, as many other people probably in stage in Kuwait, what might be the role that you are most comfortable with or that you most enjoy? Is it performing or not?
It's tough.
Yeah.
I love performing.
Mm.
I, th- I
One
love,
can tell. I mean, there's no way of forgetting you on stage.
thank you. Um, I think, yeah, at a heart, I'm always going to be a performer.
Mm.
I'm an entertainer. I was
Yeah.
thinking about this the other day, actually. I would never class myself as an actor. I don't
Mm.
really class myself as an improviser. We've
Mm.
got some fabulous improvisers in our group these days. Um, I'm an entertainer. Um, I'm a very good host,
Mm-hmm.
room worker, because I spent so many years doing it. As we said, from 12,
Since you were a kid,
I
yeah.
was stood in front of
Mm.
25 kids at a birthday
A
party.
very difficult crowd.
That's right.
Yeah.
And kids are so honest. You
Yeah.
know, kids tell you when they're bored because they just get up and scream. And so I learned the hard way.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people say, oh, they learned their comedy career on the circuit in
Mm-hmm.
pubs and clubs. You know, it's the hard route. I think I was lucky because I got thousands upon thousands of practice hours
Mm.
in my early years. And I really believe that's why I'm confident as a performer these days. Um, so yeah, secretly I love the performing most,
Mm.
but I do love directing and producing.
Mm.
I there's something, I think it comes back to the idea of the sort of magic moment again. taking an idea or a script, went from just a title on a page and a page full of a book
Mm.
full of words, and saying, I'm going to do this show. And then 3 months later, seeing it fully
Yeah.
realized in front of an audience and feeling that chill moment when
Yeah.
something happens in the story and
Mm.
you get the hush in the audience or the not even the applause but the ooh moments
Yeah,
and
the
the ah
reactions.
moments,
Yeah.
there that's the journey that you can really enjoy as a director.
Mm.
There's a huge amount of work from
Oh, yes.
A to Z, um, and it can become very overwhelming. But I do love it as much as performing. Yeah, sort of.
I was wondering, with all your experiences outside of Kuwait and in Kuwait, what are some of the major differences, um, or even maybe some you know better sides or benefits of working in Kuwait, in a type of theater you are running? Do you also Are there other theaters such as yours in the region? Do you collaborate? Are you in touch? How do you follow what's going on around you?
The truth is, have no idea. My head is in
Mm.
the sand, and I'm just focused on keeping up
Oh, I
with
can
what we're doing.
imagine. And I figured this would be the answer because there's so much work.
Yeah, it, really, it's so all-consuming. Well,
Mm,
just doing one show, let alone running it as a business. And um, th- there are or there were other community theatres in Qatar. I know
mm,
had an expat-led community theatre group for some years, but I don't think it
mm,
lasted. Dubai now has
mm,
a MTX Dubai musical theatre group, which has only started relatively
mm-hmm.
recently, and some of their core members came from being involved with
Oh,
us
interesting.
here.
Yeah.
Um, so
There's
there
there's your
are
ripple
others.
effect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'm not saying that we started it,
Mm.
but it's lovely to see members
Yes.
leave us and go to find, because the expat world is very much, we do 3 years here, we do 3 years there, we
Yeah.
do 3 years here, whatever. So we have a lot of people who do some time with us and then move on because it's part of their plan. Um, and it's really lovely to have them go, oh, I've got to go find a theatre group
Yeah.
in China now or wherever they're off to. And we do stay in touch and we hear about what people are doing in
Mm.
their next group with their next theatre
That's
group.
amazing.
So in terms of, are there other groups in Kuwait? There's a huge amount of theatre that I don't get to enjoy and see because we're
Mm.
so busy building our
Yeah.
own and doing our own. We collaborated in the past a little bit with Backstage Group, the
Mm.
Mohammed El Helm's group. Um, but the language barrier is a bit of a
Mm.
challenge.
Yeah.
We are exclusively working in English just to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace,
Mm.
really. Um, the there's been some drive over the years to say, why don't we start an Arabic wing and this, that, and the other? But it's a completely different beast.
Oh, yes.
And the minute you're having to advertise bilingual, it changes your marketing game. And
Yeah.
so we exist as an English language theatre organization. And I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah.
So as to is there something similar to staged in Kuwait across the
Mm.
region? I don't think there's a lot.
Mm.
I'd like to see more,
Mm.
and I wish we did collaborate.
Yes, will be great. And we keep asking this question to everyone really. Is there, enough artistic collaboration? Do we travel enough to these countries that we call regional and so on? And we kind of want to see more of that. But that first needs to happen, obviously, here as well, to grow that
We always,
support for
yeah,
people.
we always joke with the schools that the KIFSAC, the sports and arts
Mm.
organization, is extremely active in schools, visiting
Mm.
other schools across the region for sports
Yeah.
competitions. There's so few arts competitions.
Mm.
I'd love to see the inter-school one-act play competition that goes around the
Yeah.
region, or um, invites to different schools, musicals and
Wow, I
things.
think it brings us back to the fact that it needs to be state supported, not led, but supported definitely. And
Yeah,
also, I went to my kids' school. I was invited by their council to speak to kids that they can actually do culture and arts in life. And a couple of kids came who were, I don't know, 10, 11, and they were like, but miss, my parents will never allow it.
yeah, of course, of
And
course.
they were 10, and I said, are they speaking to you about engineering at this
Yeah,
age? They should be taking you to theater. This is the only thing you really need. I am very, very grateful to my parents. I think this is why this question is always so important to me when I speak to guests here. My parents are not from the field I'm in. To be very honest, they don't really get it either. But from the moment they realize this is what I'm interested in, all the books that they were able to buy, came my way.
that's nice.
All the theater productions that were out there, I was there. So I think that's the only way. This is what I'm trying to do with my kids, and each of them obviously wants something different. But museums are a must. Theater is a must.
We,
Uh,
as kids, we were taken to museums on
yeah.
wherever we were traveling. My parents understood the value of that. Not so much theater, although I remember them taking
Mm.
me to the West End, to my first West End show, probably when I was 10 or 11. So it did happen.
Yeah.
They weren't really theater people. My mum loved it, I think, more
Mm.
than my dad's side of the family. So there was a bit more. I think she'd done community theatre before. Sorry, I
Mm.
talk in the past tense. My mum died
Oh.
30 years ago, just before I came to Kuwait.
Mm.
So there was. I never really saw her actively involved in
Yeah.
community theatre, but I think she had a little bit more history of
Mm.
arts and performance. Um, it is really sad, I think, that and not just in Kuwait or in the Middle East, even in the Western world, the value of the arts is never truly
Mm.
sold. There are study after study proving that kids who learn an instrument or do music perform better in maths and
Mm.
sciences.
And
There's
same with literature. There's a study of
absolutely,
if you can devise characters, you can do math.
there's so many studies talking about kids who do basic improvisation and theater work
Mm.
become better communicators, end up with better jobs. The benefits are so vast, and yet when we're approaching companies for sponsorship to say, would you like to get
Mm.
involved in our kids drama program as a t-shirt sponsor or whatever? No, we don't really see the benefit. It's not our market. And yet the sports teams have got
Yeah.
15
Mm.
brand logos on them. And that makes me so angry because the the arts students are tomorrow's leaders.
Yes.
The football players, I don't mean any disrespect to football players,
No,
but
no, we love football,
the
but they
football
are
and the
not the
tennis
leaders.
players are not
Yeah.
tomorrow's leaders.
No.
The leaders of tomorrow's world are coming from the arts field,
Yeah.
100%, and they should be championed
Yeah.
by business. So it's government, as you say, government supported,
Mm.
definitely should be happening more, but corporate supported,
Oh,
I
yes.
really think should be
Yeah.
happening more as well. The West is getting much better at that now.
Mm.
I think TikTok generation to some degree has created that the media has become all encompassing, hasn't it?
Mm.
But
Sorry, I interrupted you. In these times of diversity, I think it's very easy to follow. You don't need to read these surveys and research about it. That those who understand the value of diversity will not start wars. We learn how to join forces and
but
create a better world.
isn't that the danger though? Because war is the biggest business in the
Oh, the
world.
biggest business in the world, surely.
And so that's the trouble. Us artists are all striving for
Yeah.
peace and love, and
Yeah.
business doesn't want
We are
that.
true. No, but it's the technocratic completely like running our lives currently. We've discussed a lot with professors of language here on the podcast and various artists and writers. How in the end it's always the artists or people from the artistic side who are actually championing the change or putting themselves out there, speaking against the evil and turning down opportunities in the recent conflicts from the countries who are supporting various evil sides. Unfortunately, this is, I think, the role in a way of
Do you
art
think,
as well.
let me turn the tables and ask you
Mm.
a question, sorry. Do you think that that's why this region sometimes fears artists
Mm.
because they are change makers?
I think that the change is not easy on anyone. What I've witnessed is that the social change is, especially when you, so which is why I like to use, the syntagm positive social change, and everybody feels this is something good. We are
Yeah,
looking forward to it. But the thing is, the social change is something that everyone fears. And when you allow yourself as a, there's a lot of work to be done in our local community as anywhere else, I guess. When you allow yourself to sort of not really support culture arts enough, or not really insist on kids reading, or you don't really take good care of your museums, or you're not really investing in maybe more events that are on cultural side and that are maybe on sports side. There's this,
you have empty theaters
yeah,
or
yes,
sitting looking pretty but
yes,
not
yes,
doing
exactly.
some.
Then it is something that inevitably leads to, and when you're privileged enough to sort of not need it in a way for a period of time at least, then it leads to a depleted feeling of any worth, I think, anything you can really bring to the world. What we see here is when supported just a little bit, children turn into these creative beasts that come up with great ideas, lovely songs, um, create bonds, are willing to go a step further, will do more work if they must, just for the sake of doing it together. And um,
Individual change
yeah,
is what leads social change.
yeah.
And one of my greatest joys as a director is seeing that individual change.
Mm,
The guy that you cast in a show who struggles with stage fright, but you can help him push
mm,
through it. The girl in the show who has got a lovely voice but doesn't quite know how to use it. Whatever the change is, helping those people, teaching, guiding, whatever the word is, because helping sounds a bit pretentious, I suppose, but giving them the opportunity
mm,
and the support to change on an individual
mm,
level. And you get to the end of a project and you're like, you did it. You
mm,
100%. Do you feel different? And one of the joys I get from my job is having people go, I never thought I could do this, or I
yeah.
never believed in myself enough. When you change a person, they then learn how to have a knock-on effect into society.
Mhm.
It's the ripple effect
I
again.
think why we call children to see an exhibition, for instance, that's done by adult artists, for instance, is that it's just a new opportunity opened. It's just for them to see, okay, there is something else exists, a different dimension is shown to me. Let me see if how I fit in that, or what do I think of that, no matter what that opinion is. No one has to be, a critique that early in life. It's
And art
just the
doesn't
experience.
Yes, art. I don't think any artist, whether it's a gallery
Mm,
exhibition or a theater show, we're not telling you how to think.
yeah,
We're, as you say, opening up a doorway
yeah.
into your mind and saying, what does this make you think?
Mm.
Uh, I love that open-endedness of theater. If somebody wants to see something and take offense, they will, because they wanted to take
That's
offense.
actually very
And
easy. We could, find that
uh,
in anything,
you
anytime.
can take offense to
Yeah.
most things these
Yes.
days, can't you? If you really want to. But if you if you learn to keep your mind open and just think, I think it's sad, really. We
Mm,
live in a 15-second society
mm,
where we're constantly unsatiated because we're flipping on our phones all the time. We want the next hit, don't we? The
mm,
dopamine hits. Nobody is really thinking about the content they consume. They just want content. I
yeah.
just need something to keep me interested. Um, Theater and a gallery show and a museum exhibit gives people the opportunity to slow down,
Yeah.
to take 2 hours somewhere. And we always start every performance by saying, will you please turn off your mobile phones?
Mm,
Filming is not allowed. Not because we don't want you filming and sharing it on social. well, you don't, because theater looks horrible on social media. Theater needs to be live in the room,
Yeah.
but because we want you to commit to the
To be
process.
present. Yeah.
And I was at the cinema the other day, and the woman in front of me, row in front of me, constantly on TikTok every 6 seconds. And every time her phone lit up, I get distracted
Yes.
because you see the light down here. So annoying. And the cultural experience is all about committing to something different, a different way of living
Mm.
than we are forced to live in today's society, I think,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Um, about staging Kuwait, there's something else I wanted to ask you. Given that you have performances, shows, different classes, improv classes, um, was this a linear growth?
Essential growth, I think.
Mm.
Um, when I started, in 2012, when I started it, it was like, okay, I have a huge basement. I was in a nice villa at the time because I was living on a corporate salary, and I had a
Ah,
decent,
the good
the good
times.
times. I had a big empty basement, and I said, okay, we could rehearse here. Um, but if I don't have a job, how am I going to pay for this
Mm.
place? So I said, okay, I could start XYZ classes. That would help pay the rent, leave me potentially enough to pay for some food, and we can keep together going. And it literally started at that basic level. And I think I lived off pennies for the first year or two. Um, and then growth has sort of, yes, been linear from there,
Mm.
following demand, I
Mm.
suppose, to some degree. We started just with kids' classes, then we added adult classes.
I remember during COVID, you had online
We
classes
did
too.
online. Oh,
I had one of my kids in these classes.
COVID nearly killed us.
Ah,
Well,
yes.
did kill us really,
Yeah.
because there's no profit margin in what we do.
Yeah.
And then we're the first organization to get shut down in COVID
Mm.
because literally you can't have people coming
Yeah.
together. The day of the announcement was our dress rehearsal for our next show.
Mm.
So we just finished our dress rehearsal for Lungs, and the government announcement comes out. So we have to email everyone and say, sorry, show's off.
Yeah.
And for 18 months, we couldn't do our
Yeah.
business. We couldn't have classes. We couldn't do shows. And yet I have a 3,000 dinars a month rent to pay on a
Mm.
villa. That we just the year before upgraded to
Yeah.
because the business had started to
Yeah.
find its
Finally,
feet.
yeah.
So yeah, after sort of we'd been 8, 9 seasons, I think, by that point, and we'd started to do well. So we upgraded to have a bigger space with more studios, so we
Mm.
could offer more classes. And boom, yeah, pandemic hits.
That was a crazy time.
And I know everybody struggled, but I didn't think we'd come back from it, to be honest. We kept classes going online for free because I was worried the kids were going to go stir crazy. As much as I was going to go
Yeah.
stir crazy, I
Yeah.
needed something to do. But I loved doing those. It's funny. I
Mm.
mean, challenging kids to be creative in their own homes, film
Mm.
themselves, and
Mm.
create a high standard. I'm so proud of the shows we
Yeah.
put out during COVID, and I have emails from the people who'd written those shows who'd seen 100 people all over the world do the same
Yeah.
shows, but wrote us really glowing sort of email reports based on our kids' performances. And yeah, that was a real challenging time trying to be creative through the video screen.
Thinking of that, m- when I first wrote to you about coming to our podcast, I think I chose a bad timing. It was it was when Matilda was just out, I think, yeah, and I actually came and saw it with my kids. Um, so finding passion for the next performance or next production, I'm interested in that. And also, how soon do you have to start?
So hard, so hard. To be honest, I think when your email first landed, it must have been May, early June, late May last year. Um, Matilda, I was right at I'm going into burnout mode, I think,
Mm.
because I'd done 14, 15 seasons back to back,
Mm.
pantomime, musical,
Yeah.
plus running the business. Um, and it is the creative energy that is hard. You finish one show, you immediately start thinking about the next one.
Mm.
Um, And even if you've got summer months off or whatever, the the summer months are planning the keeping the website updated, ready for the
Yeah.
enrollment to classes. So there's so many other pieces. I'd love to have a team of 10 people running Staged in Kuwait, but we don't. We have
Mm.
me plus two or three great teachers who are running the programs. Um, it's burnout is real, and I
Mm.
think as somebody who over the years has fought depression and not necessarily anxiety, but understands the sort of bipolarity
Mm.
of ups and downs, which I think a lot of artists do. I think
Mm.
that there's something about the mindset of an artist is that uh, you need your me time, you need to
Mm.
withdraw and recharge. Um, I I think
Do you know how to do that?
I don't know how to relax. I know how to withdraw. I'm good at disappearing for a
Mm.
month in the summer now. I've taught myself the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm.
Just go away and lock yourself away from everyone for
Yeah.
a month and recharge. And that's become part of my survival mechanism.
Mm.
But I came back this year saying I can't, as I get older, it was easy at 25. I could do
Mm.
everything. At 35, it was not too bad. At 45, it was hard. As I head to 55, I just have
Mm.
had to admit, there is, well, the world is speeding up. We're doing
Yeah.
more anyway,
Yeah, 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 definitely.
on a daily basis. But yeah, I think I got to a point where I said I've got to get better at delegating, and I think that's a
Mm.
tip we all learn
But
too
that's a
late.
great, I mean, a great leader, a great manager has to delegate.
Absolutely.
It's
And
just
the
a,
funny thing is, to survive in community theatre this long, none of the shows that I've put on over the years I've done on my own. They're
yeah,
all done through delegation
yeah.
and having an amazing team of volunteers who
But sometimes
support
it's
me.
also understanding that certain things are delegating and that it's fine to do so.
Yeah.
It's the
Delegating
word that scares us.
the big job is the hard
Mm.
thing.
Mm.
Delegating the directing, the producing, the
Yes.
ownership of a production. And this year is the year that I've said I've got to do it.
Yeah.
So we've returned to a committee-based
Mm.
artistic directorship of
How is
community
that going
theatre.
so far?
I don't know
Ah,
because
good,
I'm
good,
letting them do
good.
it, and that's what's
We will all
scary,
be
you know?
surprised
Yeah, yeah.
together. Yes.
I'm purposefully. I'm if they ask me for help, I'm said I'm here now as your experience point.
Yeah.
So don't not use me, but equally I don't want to answer every question. You've got to solve some of it on your own. Um,
Mm.
there's enough people in the group and on the new committee who have been with us for many years. They know
Mm.
the process, but they suddenly are realizing all the pieces that I did for
Yes.
them every
Mm.
time, whether it's connecting the lights or the sound or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a real learning curve for the society, for the group, and I'm excited about it. I'm also petrified about
Of course.
it.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really looking forward to going to see Rapunzel because I don't really know. I've seen bits and pieces
Yes.
and worked a little bit with some of the cast,
Good.
but I'm trusting the community
Mm.
to keep the legacy going now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
As it should
it's
be.
gonna be fun to see.
I wanted to ask on a much lighter note about some of the favorite moments or funny moments you remember from all of your productions. Something you can share with us that really, stuck.
There's oh god,
So
there's
many, I
so
can
I know
imagine. Yeah.
there's so many. I
Something
think
that went terribly wrong, but then turned wonderfully right in the end.
I don't know that most in theater it's live. We were saying as we were hooking up the cameras and
Yeah.
things here that the joy of pre-recording is you can cut out the bad bits. In
Yeah.
theater you can't. Um, Usually when something goes wrong, it never turns out to be wonderfully right, but it's did we get away with it, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
I think one of the things that most sticks in my head as a performer, I was playing Prince Charming in pantomime in Blackpool, Northern UK, and it was the beginning of Act Two, just before the second act started at the ballroom scene where the prince meets Cinderella. And I realized I was on the wrong side of the stage.
Mm.
And just as I went to run across the stage before the curtains opened, the lights went out on the stage because the curtains were about to rise. So I'm running across the stage, it's pitch black, and bang, run
Oh.
into the scenery as I reach the other side of the stage. I'm like, oh, it's curtains open, lights come on, and I'm standing in the wings going, that was close. That, ow, ow, ow. Carry on the scene, go on to walk into the ballroom, start dancing with Cinderella. And I see the people in the front row sort of pulling these faces like they're disgusted by something and don't understand why this is the big romantic scene, and then realize that blood is dripping off my eyebrow onto the floor where I'd smashed it into the scenery. So
But with all the adrenaline, didn't
I
even
didn't
feel it,
even,
didn't
yeah, you don't
realize.
notice the pain.
Yeah,
It's the magic of Dr. Theatre, as
yeah.
we call it. So yeah, I came off stage and patched up, and my costume was covered. And it was, that's one of the sort of disaster moments that I
Yeah,
think I remember best from theatre. There's so many moments that
yeah,
you get away with.
yeah,
That's one of the things I love about pantomime. You can patch mistakes
yeah,
live with an
yeah, yeah.
audience. It's such an
And it
interactive
just looks
form.
so good. I mean,
Ah, it's
as if
so much
as if
fun.
planned.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
magic of a good panto is
yeah,
stuff that looks like it's going wrong was actually
yeah,
planned,
yeah, yeah.
and
Of
stuff
course,
that
of course.
and some stuff is going wrong and you're not quite sure which is which as well.
I want to ask you about plans. Ah, what a horrible, horrible word. But at least for, if not for yourself, then at least for Staged in Kuwait, December is near. We know it's time for Panto. How about next year?
I can
Any big
give you some
surprises?
secrets.
A little bit.
Well, we have, yeah. So Rapunzel is opens on the 4th of December, and then we're immediately between show weekends for Rapunzel. We have auditions for a musical review
Mm,
called Opening Up, a celebration of musical theatre, which is going to be on in February.
mm,
So if you're a musical theatre lover, you can come and audition 8th and 9th, I think, of December, that is,
mm.
at our studio. We have a musical title lined up, but I don't think it's been officially released yet.
Yeah.
But I can tell you it's sort of spooky. And if you're a fan of Wednesday, it might tickle your
Okay.
fancy.
This might be interesting for all ages then.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
We try to make sure the musical is family friendly. Every couple of years, we step outside of that and do
Mm,
something that's a bit more adult focused because there's so many great shows out there. Like when we did Chicago, it's one of my favorite productions that we've done in recent years. But it's not really a kids show. It's teens plus.
Is
Um,
it important? I know that you perform on various scenes, various venues. Um, would it would it be maybe, or is it in plans that perhaps you settle in one space, ideally?
the biggest when we left Kuwait Little Theatre or I sort of parted ways with Kuwait Little Theatre and went independent, that was the biggest unknown.
Mm,
Where do we
yeah.
perform? We can rehearse in my basement, but
Yeah, yeah.
we don't want to perform in my basement. And now we have these beautiful facilities at Arjan
Mm,
Badaya. Um, but when I signed the contract and we moved in there, the promise was there was going to be an auditorium space, and that was a big part of the
mm,
hook for us. That space, I'm still working with them on trying to
mm.
realize, because once again, basketball courts, check. Tennis courts, check.
Yeah,
Football courts, check.
yeah,
Theater, oh, we turned it into a multi-purpose space because it rents better, you know.
yeah,
Oh, thanks.
yeah.
Arts gets bottom
I think if we
checklist.
just tried and, rent it out to arts and culture, we'd be surprised
Yeah,
how it's
well,
working, how it would work equally well.
I've really sort of thrown my hat in the ring with Arjan Badaya and said, listen, this is what it could look like. This is how much it could generate. I've sort of
Yeah.
got really active with them and said, let's build it. What's the 80s movie Field of Dreams
Mm,
with Kevin Costner? If you
mm,
build it, they will come is
yeah,
the
yeah.
message, and theater I think should be like that. We need more mid-sized venues. The school theatres are beautiful in a lot of the new international schools. We've been using the English school,
Yeah.
we've been using American school theatres, but they are busy with a school calendar,
Yeah.
and they have security teams and rules and regulations that make access as a community theatre in the evenings difficult. Yes, we need our own venue. It
Yeah.
would be amazing. But it doesn't need to be a 1,000-seater
Yeah.
theater or even a 500-seater theater. A 250, 300-seat theater would be perfect as a community
Yes.
space. And I think there's other groups like Art Scene and the Arabic cultural scene
Mm.
who are developing this sort of space of open mic nights and
Mm.
things that would utilize
Yeah.
that
Such a
sort of
space.
space
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a functional theater space, not
Mm.
just a small thin stage.
Obviously. Yeah.
It needs wing space, it needs lighting,
Storage.
storage.
Workshops.
Yes,
Yeah.
ideally a workshop. There's lots that we'd love,
Yeah.
and we know we're not going to get everything that we want, but I think to talk about plans, yeah, that would be where
Mm.
I'd like to leave. Not that's my right, I can go now checklist, but I'd love to leave Kuwait knowing that Staged in Kuwait has been set up in a way that it will potentially run as long as there's volunteers, as long as there's
Yeah.
people committing to keeping it alive. But it also has a home venue space
Mm.
as a performance space. That would be a lovely end point for my journey with Staged in Kuwait.
Tim, it was such a pleasure talking to you today. We are at the end of our time, at least today, in Culture Corner.
I talk too much, I'm sorry.
No, it's actually exactly what we want. A lot of information shared. Hopefully, we intrigue someone. Hopefully, someone maybe someone has heard of Stage in Kuwait for the first time, and wishes to join you.
So we
So
better give them the website then.
yes, definitely.
Stagedinkuwait.com.
And you are active on Instagram.
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Instagram and our website has all of our information.
I think there is information on what productions are on. You can buy tickets via website, and you're great at sharing information, sharing updates. At
Thank
least
you.
as a consumer, I can say that much.
It's always nice to hear the positive reviews.
Yeah, no.
Rather than the
We
complaints.
must give them where they're due. Yes. Lovely having you today, and we hope to see
Thank
you
you,
soon.
Celia.
Thank you.